everyone. Today we're proceeding with our series of our The Educators Clinic webinars. The topic today is going to be about succession versus retention with Mr. Hatem Mahmoud.
Thanks, Haifa. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, regarding whether you are in the world. And thank you for joining in and being with us in this next or following episode of the Educators Clinic webinar. As Haifa mentioned, we are going to touch base on succession versus retention. It is, of course, something that many organizations are tackling with day in, day out when it comes to retaining, recruiting the best talents and retaining them and also developing them. So big part of this would be touching base on professional development as well. Succession versus retention is always looked into from the perspective of investing in people. If we give the time and effort and also financial resources to invest in the people, then definitely the bottom line of the company will see positive results. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin, has a very famous quote about training people well enough so that they can leave. Treat them well enough so that they don't want to. And of course, this is a big balance between employee recruitment and retention. We shared a couple of questions, some questions with regards to this topic of today. Basically, to delve into thinking about the reasons behind job hopping and jumping from a job to the other, maybe even career shift to an extent. What would be the reasons for that? Or what would be the reasons behind that? What makes an employee leave or stay in a company? What is the relationship between job satisfaction and employee retention? And are we providing enough training for our staff in any organization? And is this training being provided and given for the right reasons? Do we review our organizational chart in terms of job evaluation and exactly the specificities and the description of each and every job periodically as much as we do for the annual staff appraiser for the actual talents that are being recruited for such jobs? Are all our teams fully optimized and to reach their maximum potential? Do we know our employees? Do we know what they can do? Do we know what they can deliver outside even maybe of their specific detailed job description? Does our board policy manual have a clearly defined succession plan for each and every employee, whether it is the executive level, whether it is the senior management, middle management, or employees at large? And how do we develop and implement a succession plan throughout this organizational chart? And hopefully, throughout the time we are in together here, we will be focusing on some aspects of these questions. Before we do so, it is really worth mentioning the importance of investing time in this plan, in creating a plan for succession, and in creating a plan that cares for each and every talent within the organization. Because most of the time, we get so busy building the products, we get so busy selling the products that we get not enough time to actually focus on the people who are doing all of that stuff, people behind the products. Benjamin Franklin says, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And always the planning bit falls into the second quadrant of Eisenhower's time management matrix, which is important yet not urgent. And this always is a reason why it might fall behind. Behind what? Behind quadrant one, which is what is urgent and important and always needs the first prioritized attention, whether for the leadership or the management or any employee. So we have to make time for planning. We have to make time for quadrant two that might not be urgent, but it is important. So as long as we don't have anything that lies in urgent and important, which is quadrant one, our focus should always and ultimately be in quadrant two, which is the planning process. And here we'll be focusing on that to invest more time and effort in succession planning. Why? Well, with high turnover, and of course, with whatever is going on with the world, depending where you are in the world, economically, politically, geopolitically, and whatnot, there is high turnover in many fields. And of course, with the new era of AI, some even jobs will be replaced. So there would be much, much higher need for succession planning as well, for thinking about the new role of the new future. Inclusion, as educators, we always think of it as meeting the diverse needs of our learners, but also in the workplace, whether this is a school, a learning organization, or any other organization. What does inclusion mean, and what is the relationship between that and retention? So, from a professional perspective, inclusion is about how employees within the workplace interact together, the togetherness of the workplace. And are their ideas well received? Are they uplifting to one another? Is there constructive feedback? Is there a psychological safety within the workplace for people to make mistakes, for people to say an opinion, whether right or wrong, and for people to construct feedback upon that opinion? As a manager or supervisor, the key to inclusion is to understand who you are or who your employees are, and to create an environment where they can be who they are as well. So, accordingly, each and every employee will feel the psychological safety within their surroundings to act as they are and accordingly act creatively. John Wooden say, I think you have to be what you are. Don't try to be somebody else. You have to be yourself at all times. Readiness strategy by University of California for all organizations, they have set it into 7 steps. Based upon the vision, of course, for any organization that creates their unique standing point and their unique vision and existence within the world of other companies or other organizations or other teams. Based on this vision of the future, they structure their organization and they structure the key roles within this organization in terms of the job evaluation, in terms of each and every job, what is needed for that job. Then comes step 3, which are the competencies for these key roles. What are the main skills that are needed? Soft skills, hard skills for each and every job level and job description, which is basically the job evaluation before the employee evaluation. Then comes the step 4, which is the talent review. So accordingly, I need to analyze where are the talents that are in my organization, whether they are present in my organization or outside of the organization, and align them with these key competencies of the key roles that are needed for my organization according to the structure that has been set to reach that vision. And definitely when this comparison and analysis would be made, there would be some gaps between where the actual status of the company or the organization is and where the intended status is, the future status, where we want to be in the future. And this gap that needs the strategy, this gap that needs resolution, this gap that needs a succession plan. Of course, fixing this is a journey and there might not be a finish line depending on the growth and scale of the organization, and hence sustainability and success would be ultimately achieved. A commitment to a succession plan is based upon a vision. is based upon the fact that management must and should agree about the priorities of the organization to have it in a very clear image for each and every part of this organization, and the strategic initiatives needed to reach these goals and objectives. In addition, the plan must be reviewed at least twice a year because there are many, many variables. You're dealing with human beings and human power and human resources. It must be an active and live action plan. Why develop a plan now? If we're saying that planning needs time, why do we need it now? Is it urgent or is it just important? Of course, we have learned a lot from the global pandemic. We have learned a lot of adaptability, and we have learned a lot of also rethinking and reskilling. It is not to leave until tomorrow what can and must be done today. And in order to achieve business continuity plan and business sustainability, it is always you have to be always ready to execute this plan at any time, because people might leave at any time for multiple reasons, and accordingly the business must continue regardless. One of the factors that must also be in place is the transparent leadership and the communication and regular communication and good communication between the leadership and the organization. Leaders tend to think of transparency as all or nothing. I either be too honest and say everything, or I just don't say anything at all. And transparency is really about informing employees of what matters to them and what really creates a sense of stability and consistency within the organization, with the likes of what's going on with the business now and in the near future. Where are we? What are the steps and the near milestones that creates kind of urgency and kinds of momentum and raise the morale? Whether there are any changing policies and procedures, of course, that's kind of the day-to-day organization and operation. And maybe also indeed the why behind some decisions that take place in the workplace. Of course, company goals and purpose, if that change by time, or if there is a new initiative or new vision that has been added to the company's profile. How the role supports the overall company, how the role of each and every employee supports the overall company. And this creates the team spirit that is needed to stabilize the future of work. And of course, a huge factor comes with succession planning is knowing your people. If we speak about a teacher in a classroom in other sessions before, that for them to be able to teach, they have to be able to reach the learner, then definitely for you to be able to lead, you also have to be able to reach each and every one in your workforce, in your workplace. You have to, and you must know everyone, and you must know also what are the current needs and what they may be needing in the future, what their goals are, and whether or not their existence and their sustainability and continuous growth within the organization might help them reach their goals or not. And it has to be a very transparent and a very win-win relationship. Assessing the needs of the workforce. As we speak about needs, this is a basic part of a succession plan. What are the program needs? What are the project needs that we are working on? What also in terms of the employees themselves, what are the knowledge and skills and ability needs, the KSAs? And when it comes to knowledge of a specific project or a specific program that we're working on, or the skills that are needed to be upskilled or reskilled, the abilities of specific employees and whether these abilities can be grown within the environment or not. And of course, analyzing these gaps and providing solutions for these gaps through professional development, as we will be touching base close by. So the levels of the morale of the overall employee base, and manager must be willing to invest the time to get to know their employees. as we always urge teachers to invest the time to get to know their students so that learning really happens. At the end of the day, all businesses depend on people. They don't depend on machine. Machine depend on people. So accordingly, you have to be willing to invest the time to get to know your people so that you create a sustainable growth and development of your organization that is based on people. And the most effective succession planning begins at the recruitment phase. So when you start to think of who might be succeeding who in what, you also need to be putting into consideration that in your new hires. Learning and development is a crucial part for um, human resources within any organization. They go hand in hand. And of course, the very well-known dilemma between the CFO and the CEO in terms of the investment in people. If you invest a lot and pay a lot of money on training employees, and then when they reach a certain level with the organization and of fulfillment, then they would, for example, like to go and leave and find another organization. And then what if you don't do that and they stay? Or are you doing this for them to leave? Or are you doing this for the sake of your organization? So that's kind of always catch 22. Training and development are critical in preventing turnover, not maybe also decreasing, not consistently preventing. We would hope for prevention, of course. Maintaining high employee morale and engagement, something that is really crucial for the work environment. Remaining competitive in the marketplace by expanding your employees' knowledge and skills because you always want the top performers within your team. And of course, reskilling staff um, to manage work shortages or to manage the development that is taking place, whether in technologies or whatnot. Um, Learning and development as well has many ways and many forms. Whenever we speak about professional development and training, you might think of extensive and expensive workshops. People might have to travel to take a certain course or a program or diploma or whatnot, so that they are really reskilled or upskilled and ready for the task or ready for the job. But it doesn't have to be this way. A very, very informative and practical article by Bonnie Monich about 8 creative and most importantly, cost-effective employee growth and development ideas, regardless of the very traditional workshop and training that your mind would go to whenever we speak about L&D or learning and development, specifically for succession planning, of course. So basically, why career development training programs are important, ideally, they should be a win-win situation. It's not for the sake of keeping employees in the company, and it's not for the sake of being afraid if they get trained that they leave the company. It's a win-win situation. Any training whatsoever or any professional development event should be for the benefit of the employee and the benefit of the organization. And of course, you would start with your new hires, people who are coming new to the organization. They have the first 100 days plan. And of course, the majority of this plan would be training part as well, but you would like to see them training and in action. So whatever they are being trained on, that this typically would be executed and improved so that you can also identify the areas that might need further growth and continuing professional development moving forward. So what are these 8 basic ideas for a cost-effective growth of your employee in the workplace? Ideally, first of them would be to take advantage of the industry offerings. So you would be in need of tapping into memberships with organizations in your field to access more resources. And this shouldn't be something that would be expensive, like any association of job alikes, for example, or groups, professional organizations offering wealth education programs and just content for free, whatever the tool that can be used. This is a very basic idea to move forward, whether it is a blog, webinars like the one that we are having right now, articles, research papers, and whatnot. So this is basically a pretty much straightforward idea. The second idea would be within the organization, within the workplace, and of course, whether it's HR or the L&D department, organizing a book club or an employee forum. People from different departments, different divisions that might not be working daily together, that might not be seeing each other on a daily, regular basis within the workplace, even if the people who are, they sit together and select a book, select a topic, select a very interesting article within the current realm of their day-to-day work, and they start opening the discussion. This opens the floor for creative thinking. This opens the floor to develop ideas. This opens the floor for people to learn together, what we call the PLC, the professional learning community. It doesn't really have to be someone external from the outside to deliver a workshop. We can just read an article, all of us together, and think about it. And it doesn't have to be something boring. It doesn't have to be something that is directly connected to the hard skills of our job. It can also be tackling soft skills. It can be tackling emotional intelligence and whatnot that will eventually affect our day-to-day tasks. So that's another idea. A third idea would be to establish a mentoring program. So each and every team, each and every workplace has its veterans, has its tenured employees, and has its newer employees, wherever they are in the organizational chart on the hierarchical levels. And this mentorship goes both ways. Tenured employees, of course, have extensive experience that they would like to give and deliver to the new ones joining the organization. And even new employees joining the organization, they would not necessarily be new in the job. They might just be new in the place itself. So, of course, coming from a different place, but veterans themselves in the job, this would create a mentorship from them, which is called as well reverse mentoring. They might come with new ideas. They might come with, even if they are new to the job and new to the experience and new to the career as well. So listening to them and enriching their ideas would definitely be invested positively in the growth of the workplace. So this mentorship program is a very good idea moving. So again, leveraging the internal talent would be identifying and investing the time to identify your employees that are skilled in specific interests and hobbies, whether they are directly related to the workplace or not. And then accordingly, you might uncover employees with valuable skills that they can teach to each other. And this always works miracles within the workplace. People also would like, people who are really skilled in something would like to teach it to others so that they can also be better in it, the teach to learn aspect. So that's also another good idea. A fifth idea here is invite an expert from your network. So here we can, gain from external experiences from the outside community. Reach out to your network of business associates and clients, maybe even, your partners or whatnot, for employees to learn something new from each other. So, of course, this is a very straightforward idea and very doable as well. The sixth idea would be very interesting to do as well. It's lunch and learn. If you feed them, they will come, right? So if you are facing a lot of maybe pushback or challenges to find the time or to encourage the team to come and sit together and start learning from each other or whatnot, just invite them for dinner or lunch within the workplace. So it's called lunch and learn. Many companies have had success in deploying over lunch educational programming in both remote and in-person work environments. And of course, this would help people also to get together in a fun and interactive way that increases the morale. The seventh idea is embracing social media. So using different tools and platforms, whether within the workplace or outside, on YouTube, on TED Talks, LinkedIn Learning, podcasts, and whatnot. There is a lot to do, and this can be, bite-sized, nano PDs, as we call them, available on demand at your own pace 24/7. And the last idea within this article was don't ignore traditional resources. So basically, the traditional resources of workshops or trainings or even magazines and journals, like the ones that are online, and you can just apply to a newsletter and receive the emails. Read them through. There might really be some event, some conference, some idea, some book release, some presentation or whatever that you could learn from. And it doesn't matter, whether it is um, virtual or whether it is face to face, whether it is as long as it is reliable and as long as it is coming from a trustworthy resource. It's a matter of knowing your employees and knowing what works best with each and every one of them. Exactly as we speak as teachers in the classroom, knowing your students and knowing what works best in their learning journey and in the learning process. So basically, this was to touch base on the importance of knowing and identifying and analyzing the reasons why people jump from a job to the other, and why people might think that it is best for them to leave a specific organization or a specific workplace, and what is the organization, what is the leadership of this workplace doing to encourage and enhance and really empower people within that organization and within that workplace. Are we again providing this training for staff for the right reasons? Are we providing the right training for the right employee? And are we creating this analysis of and job evaluation of each and every position within our organization gradually? And there is a review for that as well when it comes to reviewing the succession plan in a gradual basis, in a regular basis as well. And yeah, this was basically it. And thank you for being with us in this webinar. Thank you for sharing with us as well. It was a very straightforward one this time. And if you would like to suggest different topics moving forward for the future webinars, please contact us at info@advancedlearning.sa. And we would be more than happy to read your suggestions and communications and continue working together and learning together. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in the next webinar, inshallah. Thank you.